Greetings and welcome to another thoroughly amateurish blade overview. You are looking at the Heron L1 by Oknife, which unsurprisingly is the knifey arm, no pun intended, of Olight, the EDC fan favorite, whatever. I don't own a light, so because I live in Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, and I didn't clean it beforehand because, amateurish and all that. But yeah, pretty tactical. So you're looking at a handle which is so these are my measurements, right? So they're going to possibly measure slightly different from what you see online, but I went to the effort of measuring them, so I'm going to bloody well give them 4.7, 120 millimeter handle. So a big knife, and you'll notice that it has a very unusual shape, right? If you ignore the interesting blade, it's and one friend of mine who owns firearms in the military said it's shaped like the Colt 45, and it is, because it gets much wider. It's like conical-ish, and gets wider towards the butt there, and he's right, and that does have an effect on ergos, which we'll get into. Just whilst we're here, we got a nice touch of blue there, which is I'm wearing off, or is that just dirt? I don't know, can't tell. What do we have here? Not entirely sure. Yep. And it's D2, but it's D2 and nice fuller alert. I'm a sucker for fullers. It's probably the main reason I bought it. Look at that. Look at this madness. It's bonkers. It's tactical, right? Or just tactical, right? I mean, it's D2. That's a workman-like steel, right? And it's got an my brain's just farting everywhere. It's got the titanium coating, DLC coating. Thank you. So that actually will, negate D2's main fallibility, which is its lack of stainlessness. It's corrosion. So it's smart decision, I think. And there's the D2 marker there, and there's the Oknife marker, which I don't mind because it's I could do without it, but it's kind of like a nice logo. I think it's kind of cool. And you got that nice bit of color there. Sorry for not cleaning it beforehand. This is not a finger choil unless you're a child, which I wouldn't recommend you be, given how pointy and stuff this knife is, and it does cut. I cut with it; it cuts. But yeah, look at that compound grind. And I picked this up for I think around 45 on eBay. Oknife just seems to have not taken off, and I don't know if they shut down the original website and now they've moved to Olight/Knives or something. They're changing it up, and it looks like it's not selling because it's all over eBay at not extortionate prices, which is a good indication that something's not selling. So yeah, let's have a look at that action again. G10, tactical, nice action, lovely action. Like with most bigger blades, it doesn't have any problem closing. But if you watch now, if I don't flub this, I did flub it. But it is facing upwards in its defense. I barely gave that any flick, and up it goes. And the flipper is equally good. Zero. I barely. That was a push button. Let's do it again. Now barely push into it. And this big old blade flies right up. Speaking of the big old blade, let's give some measurements out. These are my measurements. So we had a 4.7 inch handle, 120 millimeters. We got 8 and 5 eighths. I can't speak. Overall length, so it's a big knife, right? Big knife. 219 millimeters, that is. And that's a significant but, because look at this. The blades. Hello, Earth to phone camera. The blade stock is relatively thin for such a big knife, right? This is 0.12 inches. Normally you'd expect, which is roughly 3 millimeters, and 3.1. rough, normally you'd expect to see about 4mm on a big old tactical knife like this. So it's a funny one, right? You've got this kind of mostly, depends who you ask, cosmetic kind of dual grind here, but it slices really well. I have cut with it, yeah, I can say that. How's the ergos? Good. Even if you're left-handed. I was going to say that's a joke, but the one gripe I have is this, and I have medium-large hands. So if you have large hands, or you're the Hulk, running joke, whatever, repeated joke rather, that's not going to feel great all day. But for kind of intermittent cutting, it's not a problem, right? I'd say that's like not really an issue. I'm bearing down pretty hard. And then you've got this thumb ramp, which is basically more to do with, well, it's kind of like to fit the fuller in, if I'm being honest, but it feels good, actually. It does feel good. I feel, to use a tri-state phrase, locked and loaded. Yeah, you could push on this, I suspect, for a long time, and it'd still feel pretty good. And your thumb's not going anywhere, your hand's not going anywhere, because of this, tactical type of patterning on the G10. How's the thumb hole? Firstly, it's interesting because it's like I was going to say trapezoidal, but it's not. It's kind of like irregular rectangle. I don't even know what you call that. A rectangle. Sorry, I didn't even use that. What an idiot. Right. There we go. It makes the blade come out even faster, and there's absolutely no wrist there. Watch. Boom. It's a rocket. How is it for thumbs? Now, I'll confess, I don't usually use my thumb, so let's give it a go. Wonderful. Like, normally I struggle with the thumb for some reason. Flies out. Veritably flies out. I didn't finish the length, did I? The blade is 3.75, as you might have guessed, or in that region, which is 95mm. The weight, I weighed it, is 5.5 ounces, which is pretty good for such a big old hoofer as this one, and you can see the internal milling there. Yeah. And the girth, or width, or thickness of the handle is 0.55 or inches, or 14.2mm. Do I like it? Hell yeah. For $40-something, you've got effectively corrosion resistant D2, so that's going to hold an edge for a long time and not rust. I'm in New York, and I have had some D2 oxidize or rust, or whatever I want to call it. I could do without the widening handle, if I'm being honest. It just doesn't work for me, but that's just me. I do have slightly oddly proportioned hands, so but just that dual grind just makes me giggle, and the fuller, if you like Wharncliffes as well, this will be one for you. It's hard to argue that this is not a Wharncliffe, I think. How's the various grips? So if you're doing like some draw cuts, if you're drawing down something, right? Excellent, because you got this kind of lovely finger parking spot groove thing. How about pencil cuts? Now, I don't know if I'm going to continue talking about pencil cuts. Tri-State swears by it when he's doing detail work, but I don't think you'd be doing detail work with something this big, would you? Yeah, so let's just not talk about that. Right, but overall, great. Just rock solid. And it's a rock solid knife. It feels good. I believe these are manufactured, I should have looked it up again. I think it's Bestech, or one of the better, what's quite surprising, it's one of the better producers. It's not Kaiser. I think it's one of the higher ones, like Bestech. It's not it's definitely not Rayat's. It's either Bestech or the other one that the name is escaping me, but it's a very good manufacturer, OEM, and they've done a splendid job. So overall, if you're after a slightly frightening and terrifying but slicey big old folder that's fun, then super recommended. You have been gazing upon the Oknife Heron L1, and I'd grab them whilst you can on eBay if you fancy it, because they're almost certainly not making any more. Yeah. Cheers.